Hey everyone, this is Charlie the Plug, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, powered by Empower You Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe so you too can be a part of the biggest empowerment network on YouTube and Facebook. We bring you weekly interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship, community involvement, also reaction to business news and community news. This does not happen without your support. Thank you. All right, welcome to the Detroit Metro Plug podcast. I am Charlie the Plug, host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, where connections matter, bringing you interviews every week of difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship and community involvement. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at episode 124. 124. So those who are joining us live on our YouTube channel, we want to thank you at the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, on my LinkedIn page at charlesmckaye, and on our Facebook channel, Detroit Metro Plug podcast. Thank you. Want to encourage you to those who are watching, if you have a comment, we want to join in on the chat, leave a comment, or if you have a question on our topic and for our guests, want to encourage you to do that. And if you're finding value in what we're doing, we're bringing you positive news, celebrating the positive contributions of people in Detroit, stories and people you may not have heard of or knew about, or maybe heard a little bit about, but didn't get a chance to hear their backstory. So we're bringing some positive content. So your subscription, your like, your follow, and comments does help us out in support of the channel. So thanks again. Happy Monday. Here in Detroit, we're in the fall. It's officially fall. It's getting dark a little bit earlier. The leaves are changing colors and falling on the ground. We're getting those little cool days in the morning, maybe warm up, and then maybe a little bit of rain, gets cold. But tonight, a lot of people, shout out to the Lions. There's a Lions game, so we got a lot of Lions fans. If you're downtown, just pray that you would be safe and enjoy the game, and that we would have a Lions win. Okay, Lions win. And we got the Tigers in the playoffs. The wild card playoffs starts tomorrow. I understand they're going to have a watch party because the first few games will be in Houston if they're facing the Houston Astros. But the Comerica Park, they're going to have a watch party. I think the first opening, the start is at late afternoon, around 3 o'clock. So there's going to be Detroit, a lot of stuff going on in the city. I'm excited because I'm actually a single empty nester. My kids are all college age, and I'm actually moving down in the city area, Midtown. And so I'm excited to be a part of all that, and excited about what I'm going to be able to do with content in the podcast. All right. So episode 124, we have a great guest on, a great topic. I guess it's going to talk about the art of storytelling for kids, and talk about her show. And we're going to dive in on her backstory, how she produced the show, came up with it, and the positive contributions for helping children. So we're going to get into that. Before we introduce our guests, I want to highlight our platinum sponsor. Let me pull up this slide here. All right. So this podcast is brought to you by none other than Brother Silas Williams. He's a realtor with Community Choice Realty. As you see in the banner, his contact information is there. So I don't know if you heard the news. The feds have lowered the interest prime rate, which is going to affect mortgage rates coming down. And maybe you've been sitting on the fence. You've been thinking about purchasing your first home. There's first-time home buyer programs, depending where you live and which bank you work with. Brother Silas can help you navigate that. If you're a first-time home buyer, it's an opportunity to unlock the door of your new dream home. Maybe you have a home and you need more space, or you want to upgrade, or you want to change to get into a certain school district. Now is the time to consider with mortgage rates going down. Maybe you're an investor. So reach out to Brother Silas. He is the platinum sponsor of this podcast, and he's here serving the community as your local realtor. His number is there. Read that number. His phone number is 586-251-7252. You can also email Brother Silas at silas.williams@gmail.com. All right. All right, let's get into introducing our guest. I'm going to add her to the stage. So our next guest, I'm going to read a formal introduction. She's going to tell you more about herself. Our next guest was raised in Detroit. She is a graduate of Northwestern University with a major in journalism and a minor in African American studies. Our next guest is also a Ford philanthropic fellow. She's also a resident trailblazer in residence at the Base Blue, which is a local women's progressive organization here in Detroit. And she was selected to be, due to her work in the community, a resident, or I think it's a membership for the whole year to be a part of that organization. She's the co-founder of Boone Productions LLP, founded in 2021. This business has started the flagship, the Nap Time Show, which can be seen on Detroit Public Broadcasting Television on the Michigan Learning Channel. And for those who watch the digital channel, you can see it on 56.5. That's 56.5. Also, it's on YouTube and also on the, I believe it's the Black Education Station, PBS Michigan Learning Channel, and YouTube. Okay, channel 56.5. The show hones in on the benefits of family co-viewing, making it a perfect, restful bonding experience. Our next guest, she is the co-founder of the Boone Productions, but she works as a showrunner. She writes, produces, directs, edits, and she is one of the characters in the Nap Time Show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 124. None other than Sierra Boone.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know I read a long intro, and thanks again for being on the show. We're about celebrating the positive contributions of local Detroiters and what they're doing here in the city at the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, because we understand connections matter. Now, I read a little bit about yourself. We're going to go into the things you're doing with your business and the Nap Time Show. But if somebody was to ask you, who is Sierra Boone, what would you tell them?
Well, first, I would tell them what you're saying, who you're interviewing. I'm a difference maker. I would say I'm a community member. I'm active in my village. So, there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. I like to think of myself as an active member of many people's villages. But when we also think about the village, the child doesn't just cease to exist after they reach a certain age. So once we get into adolescence or become teens, and then of course adulthood, like we need people, we need meaningful community and connections with others. So I just seek to be a meaningful person in people's communities, seeking to put forward impactful, positive change.
All right, I like what you said, that you are a part of want to be a meaningful person in the village and have positive change. I really enjoy that. I want to recognize we got some people who are joining us. They made some comments. So we want to thank you. Hey, Georgia, thank you for watching. She says, hey, excited about tonight's guest. We have said Delphine Boone. Let's say that. Daffy Boone. Okay. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us. All right. Oh, yeah. Go Lions, Tigers. All right. And Georgia says, hi, Sierra. So proud of you. Okay. So yeah, I'm assuming these are people you know. I know Georgia personally. She's been on the podcast. All right. So thank you. So anybody who has questions or comments, we want to definitely recognize you. Okay. So um, so what I wanted to just a little backstory. So you attended Northwestern. Now I wanted to know you have an interest in because you majored in journalism. Explain to our audience how did you have an interest in writing and storytelling and investigating? You know, tell us a little backstory about that.
Yeah. So writing has kind of come naturally to me basically for all of my life. So, starting growing up, I always had a diary or some journal of some sort and always felt just like writing was the most easy way for me to express myself. But as I was growing up in Detroit, living in Detroit City proper, what really made me want to go into journalistic writing specifically was seeing, in my eyes, what I was seeing was the gap between what the world thought of Detroit and like the Detroit that I was actually experiencing as a young girl. So, talking to people who were even in suburbs 10 minutes outside of Detroit, but like the conversations or the words or the tone that would be used to talk about Detroit, for me, I was just always like, I'm looking at the relationships that I had with my neighbors or different areas or where I would go to get groceries and places that my mom and my dad would take me, flower shops, local businesses. And I was just like, there's a mismatch here. The Detroit that everyone is seeing or like, portraying is not the actual Detroit that people are really able to live. And so I thought a large part of that was the media, was the mainstream media at least. So I sought to, people say, be the change that you want to see. So I figured I'm going to become a journalist so that I can tell stories more accurately. So I can speak to people who are going to be a better reflection or like give a more holistic reflection of the city. And that was really what charged me to go into journalism specifically.
Wow, man, that's a powerful story there. I like what you said. That there's something you said that really resonated with me. Be the change that you want to see happen, and I like that. You started writing by journaling, having a curious mind. The fact that you saw some positive things in the community, and you wasn't seeing that portrayed in the local media and the national media. Years we've been having a kind of an image issue about Detroit. Whenever you go visit somewhere else, whether you go to Atlanta or California or even Chicago, and you say, "Man, where you from?" I'm from Detroit. Like, oh, they pause. Oh, you from Detroit? But I like that. I believe right now we are on a resurgence renaissance. We've recently in the news. I'm not sure which organization, but they have highlighted as one of the top 10 cities to live in. And me just being on the ground and even on this podcast, over 124 episodes and interviews of people doing positive things. I definitely agree with you. There's a side of the city that people don't see. Yes, we got some things going on. We have people having challenges with whether it's facing, racial disparity, whether it's some challenges with income, the wealth gap. There's some schools having some challenges, and there's other challenges we can talk, different social issues. But there are also some good things in our city. We're very resilient, and I like the fact that you made it a goal to talk about that. Now, how did you get into your desire to storytell and working with children?
Well, in a way, that's also something that's been partly what I was doing. So I always tell people to give context, like I'm the eldest daughter and the first grandchild. So, babysitting has always been a thing that I've done. Like I'm known to really love up on my little cousins or kids in the community. And then after that in high school, I actually did theater, so drama club, and we would do shows like Beauty and the Beast, and different kids would come to the shows, and I was experiencing like going out into the lobby wearing my costume and playing the role for the kids. So that was always a something that I just enjoyed doing, even though I never considered it to be something that I would like do professionally or like seriously.
Okay.
And then I was actually living in New York. It was 2018, I believe. I was living in New York, and
Yeah.
there was an open casting call for the Nickelodeon show, the Nick Jr. show called Blue's Clues
Wow.
and You. And
Yeah.
so it was a reboot of Blue's Clues, and they were looking for a host. And I was just trying to get into hosting in general. I was
Right.
more
Right.
so seeking like official, like red carpet hosting. But I was like, why not? So I went to my local library and
Yeah.
I like booked a room and I recorded an audition tape and I sent it in thinking really nothing of it.
Right.
And
Right.
lo and behold, I got a call back. They brought me into the Nickelodeon offices. I was like, I went all the way to Times Square, had a time schedule, and went in and was in their studios, and I did a retape. Eventually, ultimately, I did not get the role, but I think that kind of sparked something in me. Not only the fun that I had recording the tape, but then the fact that I actually got a call back.
Okay.
That was kind of like a wow to me.
Wow.
What really made me decide to go into this was the pandemic. So being attuned to, family dynamics, I was just seeing how family dynamics are really changing in the pandemic. So you had, the lines are really being blurred for parents on like, what's the difference between work and home? At one point, there was kind of no difference. And that was contributing to a lot of burnout, a lot of stress, feeling like, there's just, what did they say? Like you're backed up against two different walls. And then the kids, because they were not able to be in school like they knew it, and many other things they were facing. There were a lot of, social delays that they were facing, developmental delays that they were facing. And then on top of everything that they were going through, when I was looking to the media that was targeting kids, so much of it was exploitative or inappropriate or just like downright bad. And it was just like, it was a big problem to me. I'm like, everyone, our communities, our society is going through this. Like, we should be seeking to help each other. We should be seeking to use what we have to, lend a hand to someone. And I was seeing a lot of like media at that time, a lot of accessible but not that great media platforms or, whatever, just kind of taking advantage of the fact that kids were looking at screens much more often. And so there was so much overstimulation. Like I said, a lot of inappropriate storylines or themes and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I studied media for all this time. Like, let me take a shot at it.
Wow. I want to give it a shout out. That deserves some air horns. Man, just your journey. So you took you had an interest in writing, and you studied media, and I didn't know. So you also did a little bit of acting, and that's a way of communicating in the art form and also storytelling. And so those seeds led you to this. And so the pandemic kind of birthed your desire to make sure children are doing well and getting good content as opposed and counter the bad content that may be impacting them in a negative way. So tell me, so it looks like, so during the pandemic, these things were happening. We know the pandemic hit us strong in 2020. And it looks like this company was founded in 2021. Tell me the origins of Boone Productions and how did you guys evolve into the Naptime show?
Yeah. So in 2020, actually, I was still living in New York, which was also hit really, really hard. So, I, like a lot of people, so many people who I knew, who were go, do, take care of this and all of these things going on. Like a lot of people had to hit a wall in a way. And I was kind of one of those people. So I was living in New York. I was seeing so many different shifts happening in my life and my relationships, including the relationship to myself. And one day I was out for a walk, sitting in the park, and I just randomly got a vision. And before this, actually, my dad, so I would have, different family FaceTimes with my family who was still back here in Detroit. And so my dad had at one point told the family during the FaceTime, like, we should start a family business. And at the time, my sisters and I were like, yeah, whatever, Dad. You know how daughters are. But some months after that, I just randomly got a vision about using my family's talents to be able to, see this thing through. It was just, I was just hearing like, this person is going to be great for this. You have this skill set in that person. You have this skill set in this person. This person doesn't know they can do this, but they will be able to do it. And so I called my mom, like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I think I'm going to move back home so we can do this. And she was for it. So based off of that response, I packed up, to put everything in some suitcases and some bags, shipped some stuff to Michigan, and took myself back home. And then that's how we started it.
Wow. So y'all had a Zoom family call, and your father's like, hey, let's start a business. And you had an idea, and with the production. Now, was there other family? Were they into acting, writing, or this is all your birth child?
Yeah. So a lot of people are into acting. Kind of like when I was saying, like, oh, this person is going to be great for this. They don't quite know it yet. It was a lot of that.
Right.
In one way, though, my dad, apparently he had always wanted to host a children's show.
Wow.
Even to the point that my grandma, his mom, she is dealing with dementia, but she was even able, like, we asked her, because he's like, ask her, what did I always want to do? What did I always want to do? We asked her, and she was like, he always wanted to have like a Captain Kangaroo, a children's show. And so I guess for him to hear me bring it up was kind of like an eerie moment, like, what? Like, after all this time, this opportunity is coming.
Right.
And then on top of that, like, my aunts, I have both of my aunts acting, or all of my aunts acting all the time. One of my aunts is one of our characters, Eleanor the elephant. Another aunt is our character, Talk the Clock. Another aunt, I have her own call for every Dream World segment. She can switch up her voices. Like, it's just like,
right.
Just seeing people who haven't been able to tap into that skill set, or maybe didn't know that it was there, like having the opportunity to say, like, wow, I actually can be a voice actor. I actually can voice a giraffe, like it's been amazing to see, to witness.
I think that's amazing that during that time where there's a lot of isolations, a lot of challenges, that this was birthed, and your family came together to create this business as well as this show. We're going to go into detail more about the Naptime show. I want to share with our audience a quick clip so they can kind of get a feel, just kind of a little intro of the show, and then you can kind of go into more detail about how the show started, how it evolved, and who was it for, and some of the benefits. So let's share this clip. Get this set up here. A second. Here we go.
I have a good idea. It's something new, perhaps. That if you're feeling icky, why don't we take a nap? It's the Nap Time Show. When you need a pause, it's great because it's the Nap Time Show. It's a better day when you prepare to play. Talk the clock, blues and rock, gospel rap to cheer you up. Mr. Beats, please do, taking us to scene of your radio. She's the best, teaches us the mindfulness. Friends so helpful in the stress, the fix as simple as it gets. The Nap Time Show. It's a better day when you prepare to play. Hey.
Hi there! Welcome back to our house. My name is Siesta, and this is my best buddy, Bob the sheep. Bob! We're getting ready for nap time, our favorite time of the day. Bob! 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 Oh, you invited a couple of friends over? Yeah, sure. A couple of friends should be fine. Will you play with us too? You will? Great. Come on.
All right, so that was just kind of an intro of your show. I wanted to give it for our audience to maybe not know about it. So we want to get into the details of, talk a little bit of how I got started. It's a family business. And in preparation for this show, I pulled some information about just the benefits of naps. Now, I'm 51, and I ain't gonna lie, I love my naps. So even on my day job, during my lunch break, a lot of times my coworkers laugh at me. I actually go to my car or another place. I don't have a car at this point. I guess so. But anyways, I take a 15, 20-minute nap. And what it helps me to do, like sometimes in your phone, when the battery gets, low and you put it on a charger for like 15, 20 minutes and it gives you a little bit, extra, it was down 20%, and then it jumps up to maybe 70%. And so you can use your phone for the rest of the day. So that's what a nap does for me, a midday nap, even if it's 15 or 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
What has it been for you? Why the nap time show? How did this evolve? And what was the driving force of that?
Yeah. Well, one part of it was seeing what was lacking in my community, especially the Black community. So many of us have been socialized to kind of see our worth equal to our labor. So it's like, well, we feel like we have to always be doing something. We have to stay busy. And what I realized is that there's so much value in rest that people were not able to experience, people were not able to reap because they didn't even know that there were benefits to it. So the Nap Time Show, of course, is a children's series. So it's about teaching kids how to see rest in a different light. So even in the snippet you just played, Siesta and Bob are saying that nap time is their favorite time of the day. So it's those little touch points throughout the entire episode that's like subtly shifting the way that kids are thinking about rest through the vehicle of naps. So it's called the Nap Time Show, and it's definitely talking about the benefits of naps, but it's also just talking about the benefits of a rest, of relaxation time in general. So, I talked a little bit earlier about stress and burnout in parents. What are some ways that parents can take advantage of rest so that they can recharge themselves in what they're doing? And, think about how you are when you're restless. Like when I haven't had enough rest, I might snap on people. I'm a bad communicator. I'm definitely not a good listener. And I could go on and on and on about, the way that I'm not myself when I'm without rest. And so how many people are not able to really connect to someone they love because of that barrier that restlessness is creating? Or, how many people could mend a relationship but don't have the tools to do it because their nervous systems are perpetually flared up? So it's just like understanding, like when we let that rest into our lives and allow the benefits of it to tap into us on the adult level and the child level, that we can then understand ourselves deeply, more deeply, and then in turn understand each other more deeply.
Yes. Wow. Man, that's great that you're doing what you're doing with your show. And when I was looking at some of the data for children in particular, naps helps to support brain development, enhance mood, emotional regulation. And so do you think there's I don't know if it was because of the result of the pandemic, or do you think there's challenges in our community with the kids not getting adequate sleep or rest, or what's going on that you find in your work?
At first, I would say I thought that there were, those challenges, but now I can say I know that there are those challenges just from, because we're out in the community often. So we're talking to parents directly. We're in the preschools, we're talking to the educators, the teachers, and over again, they're telling me like they're not they're struggling with healthy sleep habits. Like they don't want to take their nap, or they're just, like the naps aren't happening for the length of time that's good for their development. Like you mentioned, like it's key especially for children, it's key for their brains to develop, for their bones to develop. And so if they're not getting that, then think about year over year how those delays start to show up. So there's definitely a problem right now with rest for kids. And a lot of it, like I mentioned, unfortunately, is due to the media they're consuming, between the frame rate, the animation style, the color choices. It's all, unfortunately, is very intentional. As somebody who studied media, I'm able to see and understand, like, okay, it's not just by happenstance that this show right here is extremely overstimulating for kids. It's done on purpose because it creates a little bit of like an addiction in the children.
Addiction, yes.
Yeah. And so, they benefit from that addiction, but it's like, how is it actually affecting these kids short term and long term? Right.
Well, you brought up a good point in terms of how we are in a digital age, and we have kids and who have cell phones, and cell phones like this, which I have, is like a mini computer. This is not an advertising for Apple, so I want to invite it. Apple, send me some money for showing this.
Right.
But and some schools are in some states, some school districts are having a situation where they ban the cell phone in the classroom. Some kids got to put the phone in a locker because of distraction. And I can't imagine. My kids didn't have phones until they were teenagers, so I don't know what the situation is now. I have a friend who has a 9-year-old, and he said his daughter's asking for a phone. And I said, she said that some of her classmates have cell phones already, and 9 years old. I think that's what, 4th or 5th grade. I'm not sure, 3rd or 4th grade. And that screen time can create an addiction, and it can affect sleep and brain development. Yeah. So we're going to go more in detail in your show, describe the characters, who's it for. And so we're going to take a quick break and come back. You can tell our audience more. We're going to go more in depth with the show, the characters, and just some of the other things you offer and who is it for. So we're going to do that. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Detroit. Are you a Detroit area small business owner, entrepreneur, leader of a nonprofit organization, or a business service provider? And are you looking for ways to share your product, service, or your programs with a local Detroit audience? Let us help you increase your reach by becoming an ad sponsor with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast powered by Empower You Ventures. Our weekly video podcast is a growing local feature on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn that focuses on local business and community news. This gives you a chance to connect with local Detroit customers or clients. We offer cost-effective ads to fit your needs. Click the link to learn more about our current ad specials. And remember, connections matter. This is Charlie the Plug with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast.
Black Leaders Detroit, they knew that during the pandemic, that Black businesses were going to be left out of any type of funding that the government gave, and they wanted to make sure that they were able to figure out how they could step up and help, because again, this is their community, and they want to make sure that their community is still here when this pandemic is over with. And the only way you can do that is by offering support to your community, and so they stepped up and they did that.
I've been telling everyone I know about Black Leaders Detroit. The things that they're doing is simply amazing. And they're taking care of business for the Black business owners.
It's $1 a week donation to keep this great thing moving. $1 a week keeps it popping. Black Leaders Detroit.
All right, so we're back. I want to highlight our premium, our platinum sponsor. Let me show this here. So we want to highlight our platinum sponsor for this podcast, Mr. Silas Williams, a realtor with Community Choice Realty. He'll help you unlock the door to your new dream home, making home ownership easy for first-time buyers. So as you heard in the news, the prime rate, the Feds dropped the prime rate, so there's more interest rates are going to be falling down. So if you're in the market to get in your home, I want to encourage you to select our sponsor, Mr. Silas Williams with Community Choice Realty. He can be emailed at silas.williams@gmail.com. His number, you can call or text 586-751-7253. So he'll help you. There's some first-time grants available for Detroit residents. There's also other programs for if you're a first-time buyer to help with the down payment. If you're looking to upscale your home or get into a new neighborhood, he'll be able to help you with that. So I want to celebrate our platinum sponsor. All right. So for those who are back with us, we've been having a great conversation with Sierra Boone, and she's talked about her journey with helping to serve the community, particularly with storytelling and creating content to help kids who are facing challenges, making sure they get adequate sleep, rest, and just really helping in their development, and also just providing positive story time. All right, so let's get more into detail about your show. I'm going to share my screen and pull up your website so that people can know more about it. Let me just do this real quick and grab the screen, share screen. Here we go. All right. So I think our audience can see that. Okay, so tell us more about the design of the show. Who's it for? And just some of the benefits.
Yeah, so one quick tidbit on the design of the show. All of the artwork you're going to see on our website, and a lot of the artwork you're going to see in the show is actually illustrated and animated by my sister, Kayshell. So we really are a family operation through and through. But the design of it, it started off with a lot of research, just understanding everything from what colors evoke a sense of calmness. So that's why you're going to see a lot of that lilac and those warmer tones. And then even the orange is a mental stimulating color. So we thought about that. And then, of course, the characters. So siesta, my character, siesta is actually the word for nap in Spanish and some other languages as well. So that was intentional. Bob the sheep, of course, when people are going to sleep, they say they count sheep. So that's why he's a sheep. And he's also our nonverbal character. Today is National Nonverbal and Non-Speaking Awareness Day. So I just wanted to give that shout out because we have received a lot of love about our intentionality with regards to sensory needs. So, you have Bob, who is really meant to be super relatable for the kids. So they watch Bob experiencing emotions and they're understanding those emotions because, like I said, we're a show about rest altogether. So emotional intelligence, emotional regulation is a big part of rest because when you're able to do that, then you're able to calm down in a lot of ways. So they see Bob working through conflict. They see Bob developing empathy for others. They see Siesta also doing the same things, or maybe teaching and guiding them in a way that makes them want to learn more and, look up to authority and respect authority in a way that's not, that doesn't break the fun of the show. Then, of course, you have Mr. Boots, who is played by my dad. And his character is all about nature and adventure. So I don't know about anybody else, but whenever I'm out in nature, at a park, what do people say? When they touch grass, you are able to really calm your mind and your body in a lot of ways to become one with nature in that way. So my dad's character is really all about that, getting outside, understanding what's going on in the world around us, understanding the animal preservation, and just having good old school fun. Then outside of our main three, we have Talk the Clock, who helps with us with keeping routines, because routines are extremely important for the age group that this show is targeting. That's something we found in our research. So Talk keeps us on routine, and Ray the Radio leads mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. So this segment is in every episode, where we are teaching the kids deep breathing exercises, mindfulness exercises, way for them to work through anger, ways for them to work through excitement, just kind of get the energy out of their bodies without, just sit down somewhere, like they have all of that energy, productive way for them to use it, so that by the end of the episode, they're like, all right, I can actually take my nap. I done kicked around, I done did my deep breathing, I've, explored some animation, and I've had the yummy drink. We have a signature drink called the Odie Float, and it's a gut healthy, calming drink with some holistic herbs and spices, and chocolate. So it tastes good, but it's also really good for you. It's really funny because we bring it to different vendor shows that we go to, and parents and kids, but parents especially, will drink it and be like, it's actually weird. I actually do feel calmer after having this. And I'm like, good, it's working. And, especially people who are really into herbal remedies are really into it as well. So that's what that mug speaks to. Odie Float Wasted. That's our drink. So, yeah.
Wow. So who writes those characters are amazing. I gotta give a bonus to that. How did you come up with the characters and just the story? I mean, you're very gifted and talented.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure, my dad came up with his own character. And a lot of his storylines, he comes up with those too. So in
okay.
term, like we kind of tag team with the Mr. Boots segments, and that's, so you could probably say I get it from him. But I was able to.
You'll have a writing room, a writing team between you and your dad.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we would love to add to that writer's room in the future. But right now, that's what it's been. I just take from life experiences, or when we talk to parents, I listen to what they're going through, and I use that in the show. But the characters were really based on the research.
Okay. I like the fact that you have products that people can buy for their kids.
Yeah, we added those earlier this year, especially as our audience has grown, and we have so many people who, are nap time fans and who watch us on the regular, and people are telling me like, yeah, we watched the show and then we actually take a nap. So, those folks can have a shirt with Bob the Sheep on it, or we have an affirmation song. They can get the affirmations t-shirt, or get a blanket and watch the show while they're snuggled up in the blanket, or drink their Odie Float in the Odie Float mug.
Now, I'm glad you touched on that. So this show is designed for children, preschool, and I just want to highlight, we have Lakeisha Jackson Young says, great call, Sierra. So thank you for watching the show, and those in the chat. So if you have questions for our guests or make a comment, definitely want to highlight. So as we talked earlier before we went on live, the show is designed for preschool ages 3 through 7. So what's the whole setup? They watch the show, they take a nap. What is the whole intention, and what's the ideal situation for those who want to watch the show?
Yeah. So the show, what I've been telling people lately is the show is the perfect pre-nap routine packaged in a series. So, you were talking earlier about how the kids these days, they are a very digital generation. They watch screens, they're on screens. And the nap time show is meant to kind of meet our audience where they are. So it's like they're already on the screens, but you can actually have something of quality on the screen, something that'll nurture you, like Mr. Rogers and like Captain Kangaroo from, back in the day. But each episode is a nap time routine. So it starts off by, you do some chit chatting. You might do debrief, like think about how your day has gone. Then they have the mindfulness and the yoga session. Then they have the nature and the adventure session with Mr. Boots. So maybe they can spend some time outside, or if not, they can learn about an animal with Mr. Boots. And then they have the dream world segment. So that's really the main segment where they are getting that social and emotional learning, where they're able to learn the skills of emotional regulation to really not only just calm their bodies, but really calm their mind on a deeper level. And then after that, they have the Odie Float. We have the recipe for free on our website blog, and people have been asking us to put it on the shelf. So we are going to think about that for sure. So, they drink the Odie Float after Dream World, which is also calming them down. And then after that, Siesta and Bob take their nap, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to take our nap now. So we'll see you next nap time. So at that point, the idea is that, okay, they've gone through all of these segments, they've gone through the whole routine, especially if they are regular watchers, they begin to become accustomed to that routine. And it makes them feel safe and secure, which is another thing we found in our research. But yeah, so after the episode goes off, then it's nap time. And we even had a parent recently who told us that. So we have a video with a black screen and music. So he'll play an episode of the show, and then he'll put the black screen video on because it has some like calming lo-fi music. And so the kids will be listening to that as they go to sleep, but it has a black screen, so nothing's distracting them.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What is typically in your research, or what do you recommend after you watch the show? Maybe some people have the Odie Floaty, and was it 20 minutes, an hour? What's a good nap time from the character? What does she suggest? Siesta. What's a good amount of, how long is a good nap?
Well, I'm pretty sure the stats that I was looking up most recently said anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, with that most being an hour. The younger they are, the longer that nap should be. And then as they get to, the higher ages in our range, so like that 6, 7, 8, they can have shorter naps. And that's why we really focus on rest as a whole, because even if they're not taking long naps, like how are they able to navigate being bored? There was something about how being bored is a lost art, because we feel like we always have to have something going on, but boredom is where, people find themselves to be their most creative and, most, coming up with ideas and stuff. So we just create that opportunity to think about rest in a different way, like I said.
Okay. So it seems like this show kind of helps parents with young kids to create like a ritual that they watch the nap time show, have good bonding, and then the kids take a nap, or even the parent, maybe they take a nap together or whatever, and that helps the flow of the day. I want to go specific. Yeah, I showed a little bit on the slide there at the website and where people can find. So let's go specifically. Where can people find the show? When does it air? I'm going to add this slide here. Let's see. Active stage. Here we go. So that's your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Do most people watch this on YouTube at their leisure, as episodes are there for them to stream, or?
Yes, because so on our YouTube channel, we have a little bit of everything. So we have full episodes of season 1, and season 2 is currently coming out. So we just dropped episode 7 a few days ago. But we also have on the YouTube channel bedtime stories. My dad, Mr. Boots, reads bedtime stories, so that's like a mini series. We also have Siesta's Crafty Corner, so my character does different arts and crafts activities, and then talks about emotional regulation or social and emotional learning themes through that series. So yeah, we have our we recently, well, not recently, almost a year ago now, we dropped an album of songs for nap time. So that's on all music streaming platforms, but all of the music videos for those songs are on our YouTube channel as well in a playlist. So and then of course, like you said, on Detroit PBS, the Michigan Learning Channel, channel 56.5, weeknights at 7:30 p.m. And if you are a subscriber to the Black Education Station, we have our first season fully on there as well.
How do people get access to the Black Education Station? Is that a digital dial or?
Yeah, the Black Education Station is a Black owned and operated streaming service for.
Is that here in Michigan or somewhere else?
They are based in Atlanta, but they do have a surprise to no one, they do have a large viewing in Detroit.
Yeah, this is my first time because I was reading in your bio, and I didn't know anything about it. So you have to download an app, or how do we get access to it?
Yeah, so they have a monthly subscription. So they're basically like a Netflix.
Like a Netflix. Okay.
Yeah,
and it's
so
called
they have a subscription, different tiers, and they have a website and they have an app. So you can be
and
it's called
it's called the Black Education Station.
Yep, Black Education Station.
Wow. Can I get my show on there? You never know. Wow. So you guys, man, it looks like the community has received you well. I was looking at your YouTube, and you can see in the slide you're close to 20,000 subscribers, and I need to give an applause. And because I'm a YouTuber with my show, and I'm on other platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn. And, it's not easy getting subscribers, especially if you're doing positive content. As you know, being a media expert, the way the algorithms are set up is based on engagement. And unfortunately, the way to get more faster engagement is based on negativity, rage, to get reaction. And so that's why it's a lot of content around controversy, because they know if they can get you to react, get more likes and follows and comments. And but I have made an intention to have positive content, so I knew that my growth was going to be, a little bit slower. It has been steady, but a little bit slower because we're about celebrating people and making positive connections. How has that been your journey in terms of the community receiving you? You still got a good following, and tell our audience, how has it been with the children's show, and how's the community been receiving?
Yeah, it's definitely been a journey, like you said. I mean, you were kind of spot on, because it's always easier to get more reactions, more engagement with like inflammatory type of content. But I think for us, because we knew that we were coming into it with something built on quality, that we're not trying to be a here today, gone tomorrow type of brand. And so we were going to have to be in it for that long haul, because we're not going to be we're not trying to see a lot of that instant gratification. So that was a big thing for us to really understand at first, because especially when it comes to children's media, there's a new kids YouTube channel popping up every day. And it's like, sure, you might be, and that's why it's so important for me personally to just remember not to get caught up in comparison, because it's like something can pop off today, and then, but for me, the question is, in 5 to 10 years, or when the kids of this generation, Gen Alpha, when they are in their teens or in their adult years, like, are they going to look back on that and say like, oh, that was like a really big part of my childhood? For a lot of these brands, the answer is no, but I definitely want that to be the case for the Naptime show. I want kids now in 20 something years to say, wow, like I really, the Naptime show is one of my shows. Just like I talk about Big Comfy Couch, or just like I talk about the original Blue's Clues, or just like my dad talks about Sesame Street and Captain Kangaroo.
Right.
Like we have these fond memories of shows that actually really meant something to us, and that imparted something on us, and became a part of us. And that doesn't happen overnight. You know, I'm sitting here next to this book. This is a whole book about, you know, the revolution of children's television. It's called Sunny Days. It's about
Sunny Days. Okay. Write that down.
Yeah, it's about the beginning of Sesame Street. So the origins of Sesame Street when they were still super Black, and how they built their team, and who they decided to build their team, and how many times they had to ask one person to, hey, will you join the team? Will you join the team? And the person didn't really see the vision, and eventually they came on, and the talks about Mr. Rogers starting out. Mr. Rogers started his show when he was like 24, and he was just in the attic of his home with some old puppets. And you know, people don't really know about that version of his story. We just know about when he was on the national PBS and you know, his documentaries and stuff. But I understood that because I'm creating something of quality, because I'm creating something that I really want to stand the test of time, I can't subscribe to the microwave culture. And so it's like, I might not hit 1 million subscribers tomorrow or the next day or next month. But if I can say I've genuinely touched, you know, if 5 families have felt like this has made a positive difference in their lives, then I'm on the right path, you know? So that's kind of, it's just like changing my measurements. Like, am I measuring by the right things? Because if I feel a little bit bitter, or if I feel too much like I need to compare, then maybe my measurements are off again.
Wow, man. You dropping some bars. You dropping some bars. I mean, you encouraging me on the importance of quality and some, you know, our measurements. You know, there's a saying, the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. And because people's journeys are digitized, you can see people's journeys in terms of the metrics, whether it's followers, subscribers, likes. And we begin to compare ourselves on our journey. Like, well, why is this guy does this? This girl does this. They got more followers and more people on Instagram, more likes. But everybody's journey is unique, and our journey is our journey. And if you have to unfollow someone so you won't compare yourself or get depressed, do it. But we got to keep our head down and know the mission and know our why. And I want to celebrate you because it sounds like you know your why, you and your family. And thank you for this great product. As we kind of wrap things up, I want to kind of, if you don't mind, kind of go into the business side. I know there's a cost to this. Do you guys have your own studio? You do it in the basement, or is it at a building, at a church or something? What's the involved in the production side?
Yeah, so I mean, you kind of hit it that first one. It's in the basement. So we actually, it's another kind of just crazy story. Our set was built partially by my mom's coworker from Germany, partially by my uncle, partially by my granddad, all these, you know, just handy people that we knew, like, you know, showing visuals and pictures like, hey, this is how you make a flat. You know, we need this type of wood with this. Can you do this? You know, people just saying like, I'll try. And lo and behold, they were able to do it. So, you know, the living room set that you see us filming on, that's in my parents' basement. So we had that. We saved up to get like just some key pieces because we wanted the living room set to have a vintage vibe for that to match like the slower pace, you know, vibe of the show. So we have that going. And then as you can see, these are some light boxes behind me. So we had a green screen in my room, but we also recently just painted my parents' front room green screen green or chroma key green, so that we can just film on a flat wall, you know, with no issues. Because like you said, or I don't know if you said this specifically, but you know, production is not cheap. It's something that, you know, you have to really invest in if you want that end goal to look like that vision that you have. So we just have had to make sacrifices for sure, because, you know, funding doesn't come easy. I was going to ask,
so you guys kind of self-funded your production costs. And I mean, is there relationships with community partners, sponsorships? How does one get on public television? Is it do you have to get your own sponsors? How does that work? 'Cause I know it's publicly funded.
Right. Yeah. So we don't receive funding through our being on public television, because I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I remember when I used to watch Arthur, and the thing would say,
Right.
"This was made possible thanks to
Right,
viewers
yeah.
like you." So, and it's really the truth. So,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
right. So for that, we just really see that as a valuable strategic partnership. One, being able to have a show naturally air across the entire state of Michigan, and then also adding some ethos and some credibility to us, because, you know, like I said, there are new YouTube channels popping up every day, so that might cloud someone's judgment when you say that you have a children's show. But when I say that, but we're on the, you know, Detroit PBS, and they're like, oh, okay, so now this is not, you know, ears perk up. But a lot of any sponsorships or partnerships you see we have is honestly because I just shoot in the dark. I do coding. So, you know, I create the show, I write the show, I edit the show. I also market the show, promote the show, all of that. So I might do a cold email, or I might add someone on LinkedIn. And what I really found is what people have already been saying for years and years is that relationships matter. Even you say it, you know, relationships matter. So I just focus on actually building relationships where there is actual synergy and alignment. And it tends to be that down the line when it is necessary, you know, those things click when they're supposed to.
All right. So, man, you said some key things in there in terms of self-funding and also building relationships and getting community partners. What are some ways we as a community, those who watch the replay, our audience, and as a community, how can we be of support?
Yeah, well, first I would definitely say hit that subscribe button on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, give us a watch, try it out. And then if you know anyone who has like a preschool or early child care center, we do book readings, we do performances. If your business is your job is having a bring your kid to work day, like I said, we have a whole album and some of songs that kids love to sing and dance to. But really, yeah, subscribe on YouTube and tell a friend. If you like what you see, if you enjoy it, share it, because the number one marketing tactics, even in 2024, is still word of mouth. And it's been that way for decades. Right. You know, even with all the new gadgets and gizmos and platforms, like people trust word of mouth over everything else. So if you like what you see, if you find value in it, then share it with someone else.
All right, folks. So you see the YouTube channel, they're almost at 20,000. Go and subscribe. Whether you into the child's program, just go and subscribe, support. That helps the algorithm. That helps them with their monetization. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. I've done it, so I want to encourage everybody else who's watching, subscribe. You can you just type in at the Nap Time Show, go right to there, subscribe, make even a few comments. Help them with their watch hours as well. And follow them on Instagram, Facebook, same handle, the website, and buy their products. Even in the interview, I didn't realize you had products to, does that help out with the support when they purchase t-shirts and what was that? You said it was the Odie Floaty. Oh, is that float? Oh, describe that. What is that? Odie? Is that oatmeal with like root beer in it or something? What is that?
Well,
what is that? Yeah,
it's like have you ever heard of the chai latte that people drink?
Oh, yeah, I heard that.
It has a lot of the same herbs as a chai, but it doesn't have the black tea because that has caffeine. So
how do we get your products? It's just the online website, and
then if you catch us at any pop-ups, like we'll be at the Black Tech Saturdays Digital Empowerment Summit, so you can stop by and grab some t-shirts there. But
I saw you at the TEDx Detroit. You guys had books and things. Does that help? How's that been? Is that selling merch? Is that a way to help in funding of the program?
Yeah, not only does it help with funding, it just helps with audience growth because, if somebody is wearing a shirt set that says the Nap Time Show and they are walking
Yeah.
around, people might be like, "What's the Nap Time Show?" And that
Yeah.
might lead to a Google. So definitely
Yeah. Okay.
check out some, blankets, t-shirts,
Okay.
V-necks.
Yeah. So everybody, go to the website, the Nap Time Show, buy their products. I gotta try some of that. That's for kids, adults, or what is that? Is it floaty oats? Yeah, try some of that.
It's for everybody. It's for
For
everybody.
everybody. Okay. Books and mugs and t-shirts. Yeah. So support. Definitely subscribe. And guess what, audience? It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe and like and follow. Follow them on Instagram. So yeah, I want to thank you for your time and sharing. You have a great cause. Just a great program, and I see greatness. And when you shared the story about how I grew up watching Mr. Rogers, and I didn't know he started in his attic and those characters and just the impact.
Mhm.
Even the replays. I even watched it as an adult. Mr. Rogers.
Exactly.
I think of and it was a faith-based guy, Presbyterian background, and he intertwined principles of his faith and just being a good neighbor. I think that's all, being a good neighbor. We definitely need that kind of spirit in our country, being a good neighbor. So before we close out, are there any announcements or upcoming events you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, one thing I will share is that we recently announced a partnership with the Lego Foundation and ChangeX. We're giving away 1,000 free children's books through our nonprofit Pour Forward. So if you are watching this and especially if you're in the Detroit area and you have a little one, if you value literacy, I don't know if you've seen those 3rd grade, 4th grade reading rates. We're trying to do something about that. Like I said, we're trying to be the change we want to see. So we have still some hundreds of free children's books that teach positive sleep habits to give away, like I said, for free. So if you would like a copy or 2 or 3 of the children's books, hit me up, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. That's really my biggest announcement.
Okay. So get the books. What's the best way they can give those books out? Just to hit you up on socials, website, or are you guys are you having any upcoming pop-ups? I think you just mentioned one.
So we will be at the Digital Empowerment Summit on October 3rd for Youth Day. So that information is going to be, we'll be putting that on our socials, but that's also a Black Tech Saturdays event. And
that'll be at the Michigan Science Center, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great. So shout out to Black Tech Saturdays. Glad you're going to be there as a vendor. I want to encourage everybody to subscribe. What do you see in the future? You guys going to get out of the basement, have your own studio? You're going to have a setup, have merch? I can see lunch boxes in like Target, Walmart.
That would be great. That would be nice.
Like you guys can have a licensing deal. Sesame Street, even today, they have, they start out as a public television small show to evolve into like a brand.
Yep.
Yeah. Gonna be famous. You came on the Detroit Metro Plug podcast. People are gonna watch this interviews years from now.
We're putting that into the atmosphere.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about you and your family, and thank you for what you guys are doing. Here on this platform, we celebrate, give people their flowers for the positive contribution, and hope that we can. I know we're part of similar networks with Michigan Black Business Alliance and some other things. I think I ran into you at the Startup Guru.
Yep.
Tori. What's it?
Yeah, shout out to Tori, the Startup Guru.
Yeah, the Startup Guru Tori. Yeah, so
at the Startup Center.
Yeah.
So fashion, of course, like you said, shout out to Michigan Black Business Alliance.
Yeah. So I'll be out here networking and bringing on good guests to talk about what they're doing here in the city. So shout out to you and thank you for what you're doing. And that wraps up our podcast. Is there anything, closing remarks or any encouraging words you want to share with our audience?
Just that I'm proud to see the work that you're doing with the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, and I definitely see it's going to become a top like go-to for people to see what's going on in the business and the startup and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So keep going.
Yes, I appreciate it. I receive that. Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, episode number 124, Sierra Boone. She is the co-founder of Boone Productions, and which is the flagship show which created the flagship, the Naptime Show. So be sure to support on the digital dial 56.5. You can catch the show there. Also on the Black Education station and YouTube. So definitely support. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. All right, so that wraps up our podcast. Thank you again. If you find it value in what we do, please like, share, subscribe, share with your friends. I'll be back next Monday with another Detroit difference maker, another great guest, another great topic. Please like, share. We want to continue to bring out positive content. So support independent creators, independent media here in Detroit so we can share what's going on in a positive way. All right, have a good night. See you guys next week. Hey, everyone. This is Charlie the Plug, your host of the Detroit Metro Plug podcast, powered by Empower You Ventures. Don't forget to subscribe so you too can be a part of the biggest empowerment network on YouTube and Facebook. We bring you weekly interviews of Detroit difference makers in the area of entrepreneurship, community involvement, also reaction to business news and community news. This does not happen without your support. Thank you.